Hello, I'm Dr. David Hawkins from Marriage Recovery Center, marriagerecoverycenter.com. We're going to have a two-part series here because we're going to talk about something that you folks have shown us that you're very, very interested in. It has to do with Dr. Jekyl and Mr. Hyde. And Dr. Jekyl, you might know, is the nice guy, the persona of all goodness and great virtue and all things wonderful. Mr. Hyde, not so much. Not so much. It's a shadow side. You know, what many women tell me is they say to me, boy, when it's good, it is so very good, and when it's bad, it is so very bad. And yet letting go of a relationship because of the badness means you're giving up all that goodness, and trying to cling to the goodness and minimize the badness, that doesn't work either. And so I want to talk to you about misconceptions about Mr. Hyde. So this is Misconceptions about Mr. Hyde, Part 1. First of all, so I've got several things I want to say to you. First of all, most men with Mr. Hyde-like qualities are not trying to be difficult. You know, I know in your worst fantasies you're thinking, he's trying to be like this. I mean, he is really trying to mess with my mind. Do you know something? It's not the case. These are characterological traits. That just means that they're character traits that are woven into him. You know, the power struggle issues, the minimizing, the blaming, the denying, the switcheroo, turning things onto you. All of those qualities, for as much as you don't like them, he's not trying to be difficult. Okay? So, are they there? They absolutely are there. Are they part of him? You better believe they're part of him. But he's not trying to bring them out. So don't get into a conspiracy theory thinking, you know, he's trying to mess with me, he's trying to just make my life miserable. He's not. That's part of him. Second thing I want you to think about here, and that is that these men with the Mr. Hyde-like quality, which is many of them, they're not aware of the shift between Dr. Jekyl and Mr. Hyde. Now, that doesn't make sense, does it? Because you would think that they would know when they're Dr. Jekyl and when they're Mr. Hyde. Come on, it's really obvious to you. You can tell the shift. You can see the eyes go different. You can see the body language get different. You can see him walking from the sanctuary into the courtroom. They are not aware of this shift. And so when you say, look at the way you're acting, they're going to go, what? So, second misconception. They're not aware of the shift that happens inside of them when they move from being the nice guy, the good guy, the caring guy, the sweet guy, to the angry guy, the controlling guy, the nasty guy, the hostile guy. So don't get into the conspiracy notion that he knows, that he's planning this, or that he's even aware of it. So that's the second thing I want to tell you. The third misconception is they are not trying to hook you. Now again, when you are in your slightly paranoid mode, you know, you just got those fears and those anxieties and you're feeling really hooked by him, I want you to know he's not trying to hook you. Now, does he hook you? Oh, yeah, big time. He hooks you hook, line, and sinker. How does he do that? He hooks you by what I call story starters, you know, saying, well, you always, you never, you know, it's not my fault, it's your fault, blame, shifting the focus, all kinds of minimizing, excuse making, all these different things that he does, and they do hook you. And in another broadcast, we're going to talk to you about how to get unhooked. But misconception number 3, they are not trying to hook you. It comes naturally. Oh my goodness, I wish it didn't. So, number 4, and then we've got our second part where we'll talk about some other misconceptions about him. Number 4 is they have no insight into this behavior. Now that's no surprise given everything else I've told you. So he doesn't know he's doing this. He doesn't, when you bring it to his attention that he's doing the switcheroo, he says, I don't know. I mean, come on, I'm not doing anything. And that will make you even feel crazier. Like, what do you mean you don't know? You don't see when you're blaming me? You don't see when you've got these hostile outbursts? You don't see? No. The answer is no. So again, for this broadcast, I want you to remember these things. These are misconceptions about the shadow side of your man. Number 1 is he's not trying to be difficult. He really isn't. Number 2, he's not aware of the shift when he moves from Dr. Jekyl, the wonderful guy that you love, to Mr. Hyde, the guy that you cannot stand. Number 3, he is not trying to hook you, but boy can he, and we'll talk about that again in a future broadcast. And finally, he has no insight into his behavior. So if you've got a relationship with Dr. Jekyl and Mr. Hyde, I want you to watch for a future broadcast. We're going to teach you more about Dr. Jekyl and Mr. Hyde. I'm Dr. David Hawkins from the Marriage Recovery Center, marriagerecoverycenter.com.